Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? Oh my gosh, it is so hot in my car. Tanya was in my car. She has it turned up to 80 in here, so I'm gonna sync it. So now it's on 72. It is so warm in here. It is currently 12:30 a.m. on this very still Saturday evening going into Sunday. It is currently 30 degrees outside. It actually does not feel that cold because it's not windy or anything like that. I think I looked on the weather last night, didn't I? And it's supposed to be up into the 50s next week again or something like that. This weather is so crazy around here. But it is dark very, very early, which I don't mind because y'all know I love the evening so much and I love nighttime. So I don't really mind the dark. The only problem is I'm sitting there, you know, filming a drama video and it's like, or a Peterisms video, and it's like 4:30 in the afternoon and it's already like almost completely dark outside. It just seems weird to me because I'm used to, you know, I don't start my videos usually until later in the day. And so it seems weird to me when I am posting videos and, or like I'm filming videos and it's already like, I can see as I'm looking out the back window that it's like so dark outside. It feels like I'm filming a video at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. That's the only thing. And do you know what's so weird? Is that like today when I was filming, because I filmed out on the front porch and it was like still not super late, I was thinking to myself, like, I don't remember it being this dark this early last year. Or maybe I just filmed my videos earlier. I don't know. So anyway, how are you guys doing today? I kind of, like, when I got done vlogging today, I wanted to make videos, but I wasn't entirely sure I was going to end up making a bunch of videos. And then right after I got done vlogging, I did a review video at McDonald's. And then I went into Richie Woods and I did a video for my Peter Does Stuff channel. And then I came home and that was when it was like getting dark outside and stuff. And so I was uploading the videos and Alex was talking on the phone and watching TV and stuff like that. He was just relaxing today. So I called Melissa and talked to her for a couple minutes. And while I was uploading the videos that I had done while I was gone, and then I was like, well, I want to film a Peterisms video and I want to film a drama video. So I did that on the front porch so that Alex could, well, he was watching TV and then he was talking on the phone so that he could watch TV, and I just wanted him to be able to relax and sit in the living room and stuff. And so I did that, and then I had talked to Tanya earlier because I wanted to do a Housewives video with Tanya. And I thought, well, if we filmed it tonight, because she said she wanted to go to, she asked me if I wanted to go to Meijer with her because she had a bunch of stuff she had to buy at Meijer. And so she said, yeah, and I said, well, I want to do this Housewives video. I was going to see if she could do it earlier today because I was going to post it today. And she was like, well, can we do it later? Because she had a bunch of stuff she was doing. She was taking a Christmas tree down, an extra Christmas tree that they had, taking it down out of the attic. She and Eric were for their son, and because he's going to use it at his house. And she was making dinner, and she was doing a bunch of other stuff. And I said, yeah. So we agreed on 10 o'clock. Well, first it said 10:30, and then I was like, well, what about 10 o'clock? She's like, yeah, 10's good. Because I know that she likes to take her time at Meijer and not wanting to be rushed through there. So I got all that stuff done, and I actually did some laundry. And then I took a shower and got dressed. That was kind of it. Alex was watching Gossip Girl with the dogs, and so I hung out and talked to him for just a little bit while I was like getting ready. And after I like took my shower and lotioned up and stuff, I kind of just sat there in my robe and talked to him for a little bit. And then I got dressed and left to go get Tanya Jean, and then Tanya Jean and I went to the Meijer, and she did a bunch of shopping. I got a 12 case or a 12 thing of Diet Coke so that I could have Diet Coke sometimes in the evening. Because I got these new Tervis cups. I showed them on my, I think I showed them on my drama channel actually. I got a Tervis cup. One of them is Snoopy. It's like, they have like a whole Peanuts theme on there, or of cups, I think. And this is like the Christmas one, and it's Snoopy, and it's like his, I think it's from Charlie Brown's Christmas, and it's like Snoopy with his house decorated and stuff. It's really cute. It's like those Tervis double insulated cups. I love those. And then The other cup is The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. They're real cute. And then I actually bought 2 Tervis mugs, too, that I can drink around the house that are like double insulated, and they're clear. I love clear coffee mugs. It's like one of my favorite things in the world. So it's like these clear coffee mugs. One has a black lid on it and one has a white lid on it, and then they have handles. So those will be nice for around the house. I don't love them so much for the car because like down here where my cup thing is, I just have a 2-cup thing. The handles don't fit in here that great. So then after Meijer, Tanya and I sat in the parking lot at Meijer, and we did a Housewives video, which actually went really, really long. It went like 40 minutes. And so I'm going to post that tomorrow. And then driving around a little bit today, I listened to a little bit of my audiobook. I still have 3 hours, you guys, left of it. I'm like, it's good. It is just a journey. I mean, it is a real journey of a book. So anyway, then we went to the gas station and I got a fountain pop. Tanya had already gotten a fountain pop earlier, and I had made a cup of coffee earlier for our video. So here is my coffee. Well, it's empty now because I was like halfway done with the cup of coffee and I wanted a this is Diet Pepsi. I wanted a Diet Pepsi instead, so I threw the coffee out because I didn't want it to spill in my car. So we went to the gas station. She got Doritos and I got a Diet Pepsi, and then we drove around for a little bit more. We were playing music. I was playing her my favorite Christmas song of life, which is Darlene Love. Well, I don't know that that's my favorite Christmas song. I think my favorite overall Christmas song sung by anybody is probably Silent Night. And I also love It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. Those are probably my 2 favorite Christmas songs of life. John Denver and the Muppets is my all-time favorite Christmas album, and my favorite song on, and probably my favorite Christmas song ever is, I think it's called Alfie. Do you guys know the song I'm talking about? And it's about, John Denver like talks at the beginning of it, and he's talking about the tree that lived in the woods, and he was a friend to all animals. I love that song so much. If you've never heard it before, you should look it up. The John Denver and the Muppets Christmas, I think it was a special one year, and I had the record when I was growing up. I still have the record down in the basement, and it's just such a fantastic, I should look it up and see if I can find the special, like the TV special, but the music is just so fantastic. So yeah, so I bought the song tonight, Darlene Love's Winter Wonder, or White Christmas, because I love that song so much. It's very Motown, and I mean, she was very Motown, Darlene Love. And then at one point, she's like, "It's the prettiest day in LA, but I wish that I was up north and for a white Christmas," and all this kind of stuff. I love it. So anyway, and then Tanya was playing for me Baby Come Home to Me or something by Melissa Etheridge. It was like this very jazzy, upbeat Christmas song. And then I played for her this Melissa Etheridge song called Glorious. I love that song. I think they're both on the same album, actually, because we had to look up hers on YouTube, and mine I had downloaded because I already have that song. So this is good. This Diet Pepsi is good. Yeah, and that was my day. It wasn't super eventful, but it was a good day. I was in like such a great mood all day. I don't know, maybe I got caught up on my sleep, and I got some really good sleep last night. I just was in a really positive, happy mood all day today. So I was talking to Caroline the other day. I don't know if I talked about this on here or not, but I was talking to Caroline about like what we're gonna do for Christmas. And so she was like, "Well, we don't usually," I said, "Are we getting together for Christmas Eve?" And she goes, "We don't usually get together for Christmas Eve." And I was like, "Oh, I thought we did, but I guess I'm wrong." But last year we did, just because Alex's family was out of town. So this year, since Alex's mom and stuff just does Christmas Eve, they just do Christmas Eve. They don't celebrate, I mean, they celebrate Christmas Day, but they don't really do anything on Christmas Day. Like, their Christmas is Christmas Eve. Caroline and Mike, her husband, and David and her stepson, who will be in town visiting, they are just going to go out to dinner, the four of them. They don't really do, I think they open Christmas presents, like, just their family on Christmas Eve. Like Caroline and my aunt and uncle did when I was growing up. They would open their presents on Christmas Eve. Or at some point, they changed over and started doing that. On Christmas Eve, they would open presents. I think it was, like, after they would go to church or something. I don't know. Because there were quite a few years that they would go to, like, church, like the midnight mass service. So, we went with them, like, 2 years, maybe? I can't remember. But anyway, so they're gonna do Christmas just like themselves, and then we're gonna go over there for dinner on Christmas Day at like 4 or something, and then we're just gonna be with like Alex's mom and stuff on Christmas Eve. So it'll be fun. It's gonna be a small Christmas this year. It's not gonna be like a big on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. What is going on over here? This like car can't turn or something? I don't. Anyway, they were like turning into me. I'm excited about it. I like kind of smaller little things. And then I was talking to Melissa tonight about what we're gonna do for New Year's, as far as like, they don't think they're gonna go out of town. They don't really know. She's like, I still don't know, but if we were going to, I think we would have planned it by now. So I talked to them about like maybe going out to dinner. I talked to her about maybe going out to dinner somewhere and getting dressed up, and then going out somewhere, you know, and like just for an hour or two. Not like some big night. Maybe getting a section somewhere or something like that. Because I know Alex is gonna want to do something for New Year's Eve. And then if that's the case, then like I can go home, vlog probably after that, and he can stay out if he wants to and Uber home. Like New Year's Eve just is not, I mean, I love the spiritual aspect of New Year's Eve, of like starting a new year and all of that. Like I enjoy all of that, and but like the partying of New Year's Eve, it just doesn't really mean anything to me. So do you know what's funny is that when I was growing up, like once my parents got separated, the majority of New Year's Eves, I was with my dad. A, because my dad would be on call. So it wasn't like he was gonna go to a party anyway, which is so out of like anything my dad would have done anyway. My dad was not a person that was gonna go to a New Year's party. That's never really been him. So he didn't do anything on New Year's anyway. And so my mom usually would do something on New Year's. Now, my mom would always go to church mass, like in the afternoon on New Year's Eve. And then she would go to, like, out to dinner with a girlfriend and do something. Sometimes they went to movies and then went out somewhere for drinks afterwards. I mean, it wasn't like she was out till 3 o'clock in the morning, but she usually did something on New Year's Eve, and that, you know, involved drinking and things like that. So I was just always with my dad on New Year's Eve, and my dad still texts. I know he'll text it to me this year. He still texts me every year. So my dad, you know, like when he was living in his apartment and while he was building his house and stuff, you know, we would go over there, and then he would grill out steaks, and then he would make wild rice. And, you know, I would get to pick out whatever kind of cookie that I wanted, which I always picked out those, like, grasshopper cookies, which were, like, Oreos with that mint. It was like the filling was mint inside. And we would get Haagen-Dazs ice cream. We would each get our flavor that we liked. My flavor kind of varied sometimes. I liked coffee. I liked mint chocolate chip. I liked a couple different kinds, but we always got Haagen-Dazs. I don't know why. I never get Haagen-Dazs anymore. It's just so, I love Ben & Jerry's. Ben & Jerry's Chubby Hubby is probably my all-time favorite ice cream. I also love Ben & Jerry's Netflixed and Chilled. But anyway, my dad and I, like, you know, I think it was I always used to think it was after the ball would drop, but I think it must have been because my dad would never have stayed up that late. I think it was before the ball would drop, and then we would go to bed, like, right afterwards. It was like the movie channel, the cable channel, you know, the movie channel. You could, like, call in and vote, and it was like, they would have 4 movies that you could pick from. And then whatever movie, like, won was the movie that they would show at, like, 10 o'clock. And then it would be on from, like, 10 o'clock to right before midnight. And then they would show, you know, then you would go watch the ball drop or whatever. I mean, I don't know how this worked in other parts of the world, but I just remember that was vaguely how it was set up, something like that. Because my dad said, and he always jokes about it. He was like, you know, we would always vote for Dudley Moore and Arthur because we loved the movie Arthur back in the day so much. And that was like my dad and I's movie together. We used to quote lines. I still quote lines from Dudley Moore. Which is really funny because my dad's partner was from England, and he actually went to boarding school with Dudley Moore, lived in the same building as him, and knew Dudley Moore growing up. Is that not so strange? Anyway, but yeah, so we would always vote on that movie. But I love that movie so much, and I haven't watched it in forever. I should watch that movie again sometime. I think I've watched parts of the remake, but I haven't. I just feel like sometimes I don't want to watch remakes because I feel like they'll ruin the original. But I love the line when he's walking and he's laughing, and Liza Minnelli, I think it's Liza Minnelli, says to him, "What are you laughing at?" And he says, "Sometimes I just think funny things." I love that because that is so me. I mean, I just laugh all the time at it. I'll just think the most ridiculous thing and start laughing, you know? I love that. He's just got such a good attitude. I love at the end of the movie when, if you don't know what the movie Arthur is about, so the movie is, Arthur is he's like this guy that's grown up, and he still acts like a kid, and he has a train set in his bedroom, and he's super, super wealthy, and he wears a top hat, and drives he has a Bentley that he's driven around, and all this kind of stuff, and, so, anyway, and it's time for him to grow up and be in a relationship, and he meets Liza Minnelli, and she's very poor, and it's one of those movies, you know, and they fall in love, and he really loves her, and, so he's it's this huge thing, and then his grandmother doesn't want him to marry her or whatever at the beginning, and I can't remember, but anyway, at the end of the movie, he basically tells them all they can take their money and screw it, is basically what happens. But then at the end of the movie, she's sitting in the back of the... Oh, no. His grandmother tells him to, get in the car. She's got to tell him something, and it's about the money, and you don't know. It's at the very end of the movie. And he's told them that, I don't want your money, I'm done. And so he comes out, and Liza Minnelli's like, well, what did she say? And he said, she told me that, she said that we can get married or something like that, and that she likes you, or I can't remember how it happens, but anyway, I need to watch the movie again. And then she's like, and what about the money? And he goes, I told her I don't want it. And she goes, oh, okay, or something. He goes, I'm not stupid, I took the money. It's real funny, you know. Somebody is texting me, I don't know who. But it's real funny because he's like, I took the money, I'm not stupid, or something like that. And she's like, so we're rich? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, how rich? And he's like, disgustingly rich. It's just such a fantastic movie. It's so good. Who is texting me that I have to turn in here? By Margarita's Restaurant Bar and Grill. This Mexican restaurant right here has been, I swear to God, probably 9 different Mexican restaurants, and it started with Cancun. Does that Cancun restaurant, does it ever, last for anybody? I don't think so. Dun dun dun. Never a dull moment in the life of Peter Monn. And the other options were Stripes. I should look this up and see. When you, I don't even know what you Google, when you could vote for a movie. It'd be so funny if this pulls up something on New Year's Eve, the movie channel. Oh, my husband's sending me videos now, probably of the dogs. It's pulling up all this movie called New Year's Eve. Best New Year's Eve movies of all time. Oh my God, Trading Places. I love, which we should look at this really quick. What is he doing? Alex is sending me like one thing after another. Oh, do you guys want to see? Okay. Here is Boo Radley. Say hi, Boo Radley. Okay. And then here's Tucker with his little neck thing on. Aw, little neck. And there is my husband. You can see him, he's right there. And there's Tucker. Aww. Okay, let's look at these New Year's movies. 33 best New Year's Eve movies to watch before, during, or after the countdown. Okay. 1 of 33, A Lot Like Love. I don't know that movie, I've never heard of it. An American in Paris. You know, I don't think I've ever seen An American in Paris. I know my mom loved that movie. 3 of 33 is Trading Spaces. It's called is it called Trading Spaces or Trading Places? Why did I think that movie was called Trading Places? It says Trading Spaces. Trading Places. It's called Trading Places, and this article has it down as Trading Spaces. I think you're wrong. Okay, Trading Spaces. Number 4, When Harry Met Sally. That's not one of my favorite movies, I just have to say, okay? And then About a Boy. That's not the one that I thought it was. No, that's not the one. I was thinking of the one with Patricia Arquette. I love that movie. Sunset Boulevard, depressing. High School Musical, no thank you. The Godfather Part 2. Do you know I've never seen the Godfather movies? Carol. How do I know this movie? I've never seen that movie before. She got an Academy Award, I think, for that. Money Train. I haven't seen a lot of these movies. Happy New Year, Charlie Brown. Oh, 200 Cigarettes. Oh my God. And they have a picture of Martha Plimpton on here. Have you guys ever seen that movie? That is such a great movie. When she's sitting there and she's having that New Year's party and she's got her party dress on. I mean, they have her right here, okay? She's got a Happy New Year hat on. I don't know if you can see it, but you can't see it because of the screen. But she's sitting there in this party dress and this Happy New Year hat, and she's drinking by herself, and she's watching Summer of 42. And it's that scene when Jennifer, what was her name? Jennifer Jones or whatever. She said, love means never having to say I'm sorry. And Martha Plimpton takes her drink and chucks it at the TV. Oh my God, it's like one of the most fantastic scenes in any movie. Rent and About Time. Oh God, that movie is so good. Have you guys ever seen About Time? Well, first of all, I love Rachel McAdams in anything. I even loved her as Regina George, but I love her in anything, and she is so good in that movie About Time. But that movie is about the dad and the son that can travel back in time. Have you guys seen that movie? If you've never seen it, I know it sounds corny, but I'm telling you, you will not make it through that movie without bawling your eyes out. The end is so good, you guys. It is like a twist on a time travel movie, and it is so fantastic. Alex and I watched it one time and just totally sobbed. While you were sleeping, it's boring. Okay, Sex and the City, the movie. I've seen them, I don't remember them at all. Bridget Jones' Diary. Renee Zellweger, I don't like her. 4 Rooms. I don't remember this movie. Oh, I do remember this movie. This is where there's like different directors for each movie. I didn't love that movie. Ghostbusters 2, who'd care? Someone Like You. Who is this with? Never seen this movie. Ashley Judd. I like, oh, after the Thin Man series. So, you guys, you know when I talk about Nick and Nora Charles from the Thin Man series and their dog Asta, because when I was growing up I had a wire-haired fox terrier. So this is Nick and Nora Charles from the Thin Man series. Do you see? And that's their dog in the middle that looked just like the dog that I had when I was growing up. My mom and I, we loved the Thin Man series. Okay. Mermaids, love that movie. The New Year, I've never heard of this movie. 3 Little Words That Incite, okay. Waiting to Exhale, oh my God. Whitney Houston, Angela Bassett, Loretta Devine, and Layla Rochon. One of the most fantastic movies I think I've ever seen in my entire life. I could watch that movie 9 million times. I love that movie. Whatever happened to Layla Rashawn? I haven't heard from her in forever, or heard about her in forever. An Affair to Remember, that's where they're supposed to meet on the, whatever, New York City. That movie's boring, I think. Fruitville Station. Oh my God, Tanya and I, why would they recommend that for New Year's Eve? Tanya and I watched that. That is such, I mean, it's a good movie. It's an important movie, but that movie is intense. Okay, New Year's Eve. Diner. One of the most boring movies in the entire world. My mother loved that movie. That, and what was the other one where they go out to dinner? My Dinner with Andre. My mother used to, those intellectual movies, so boring. Have you ever seen My Dinner with Andre? I'm telling you right now, you'll never make it through it. It's literally two people at dinner and their conversation. It's so boring. Okay. Poseidon. Now, I like the Poseidon Adventure. I didn't like the sequel to it as much. I mean, I thought the special effects were good and stuff, but like that. But the original Poseidon Adventure, you know, with that song. What's that song? Oh, God, I love that song. Will there be a morning after? That one. Na, 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 na. And then the boat turns upside down. And then what's her name? Shelley Winters. And she was like an Olympic swimmer or something. And she has to swim through that thing, but she can't do it. Okay. Oh my God, that movie was so good. Sleepless in Seattle. There's only a couple things I really like that Meg Ryan has been in. Snowpiercer. I've literally never heard of this movie. I've never heard of it. And an atypical watch this time of year. The dystopian thriller Snowpiercer stars Chris Evans, Jamie Bell, and Octavia Spencer. And we've included it on this list because it's New Year's Eve. Actually, it's New Year's Eve actually bears more meaning than just parties with noisemakers and silly hats. Rather, climate change has ravaged humanity, and the few survivors are confined to a class section speeding locomotive that celebrates a new year every time it traverses the globe. That's kind of interesting. Oh, I think I might want to watch that. Let me screenshot that. Boogie Nights. That movie is so bad. Why would you tell anybody to watch that movie? And The Holiday. I haven't seen that movie, but I do like Emma Roberts. So was this in like some order? Are they saying that the best movie to watch on New Year's Eve is A Lot Like Love? And number 2 is An American in Paris. Who knew? Anyway. Yeah, I don't know what I'll be doing on New Year's Eve. Maybe watching Poseidon. Do you know what I want to watch again? And it's been, I mean, I think I've only ever seen the movie one time. I mean, maybe if it's like on in the background of like, while I'm doing other stuff around the house or something, if it's like on cable. But I was listening to the Michelle Collins show the other day. I'm like so obsessed with the Michelle Collins show on Radio Andy. I love her. I want to be best friends with her. Okay, so I was listening to the Michelle Collins show the other day, and they were talking about the movie Castaway, and I have not seen that movie in forever. And they were talking about the part where Tom Hanks, like, he's on the raft, and Wilson, the ball, falls off of the raft, and he's like, Wilson! And they were talking about the sound of when the ball hits the water, and I was like, I forgot all about this movie. Like, I need to see that movie again. Because I did like that movie when I saw it. I love in that movie, what is that movie? Is it called Tammy? Is that the movie with, what's her face? I love her so much. When she's like, she comes home to her mom's house, and it's Jill Clayburgh, and Jill Clayburgh goes, Castaways on Netflix. I love that so much. That is so something that my mom would have said back in the day. But like, Mom, me and my boyfriend just broke up, and she'd be like, oh honey, come inside, I'll make you a chicken pot pie. And guess what? Castaway is on is that what that movie is called, Castaway? For some reason, I don't think that's what that movie is called. But anyway, she'd say, and Castaway's on Netflix. Do you know, my mom passed away before Netflix was really like a streaming service. She did, though. I mean, isn't that so weird to think that my mom never really knew what Netflix was? My mom, first of all, would never have been able to figure out Netflix. My mom couldn't figure out anything technological, number one. Number two, my mom would have wanted to know everything about it, and then I would have had to explain it to her, and then she would have been upset that she had to pay for something that should be free when she owns half those movies anyway, and then she wouldn't understand how she could access it. I mean, there's so many things that like I so miss my mother, but I just have to tell you, if you have had a parent like my mom that has passed since technology has really sped us into the next millennium. Like, there's a lot of things that my mom would have wanted to be part. She wouldn't have even understood Facebook. I'm just telling you right now. Like, Facebook had just started, like when my mom, the battery died. I'm not going to talk forever tonight because the last couple nights, like, yesterday, today was just an hour, but the last 2 days before that were like an hour and a half, and I think people probably want to catch up on the vlog. So anyway, but, like, my mom would want to have all these things. Oh, Audible, she would definitely want to have, but she wouldn't be able to figure it out on her phone. She couldn't have even figured out a smartphone. My mom, I loved my mom, but she was literally technologically inept. I mean, she just could not figure out these things at all. And, like, just even to work the stereo. I mean, my mother was so intellectual. She could sit there and analyze a book like nobody's business, but when it came to anything technological, like, she just couldn't. And I'm very close to that. And one of the reasons why I kind of push myself with continuing to do things is because it would be real easy for me to say, oh, I don't want to know about this, I don't want to know about that, and then one day I wake up and it's like we're 10 years in the future in 6 months, because I feel like that's how it is. And I'm like, how do we get there, you know, when it's crazy to me, you know. I can remember my friend Erin, her daughter Maddie, who at the time, I think she was like 10 or 11, and she was showing me how to edit this video. Oh no, she couldn't have been that young. She would have been, she's 18. I've been on BookTube. She was when I was started on BookTube, because we did a video together. So she would have been 12 or 13 at the time. So 13 or 14, and she sat there and she just like edited this video on her phone in like 2 seconds, and it was like master edited and had all these these jump clips and everything, and I was like, oh my god, and you did that on your phone in 20 seconds. And I can't figure out any of that stuff to save my life. I try to keep up with it, you know. I love when people say like, oh, you're lazy, you don't edit your videos. No, I don't edit my videos because I don't understand. And then they're like, well, if you took the time, if people knew how many times I have sat down and tried to teach myself editing, the fact that I can even include a screenshot is beyond. I mean, like, that's a big deal that I can include a screenshot in a video. Like, I cannot edit videos. Like, I can clip the beginning and the end, and I can go in and splice a little bit and all that kind of stuff. But other than that, like, I wish I could do more. I do. You know, but like, I don't know, I just don't think that way. And I think like my technological skills came right after that. I do remember though, I have to tell you guys, I've shared this on here before. So my friend and I, and this is my friend that I went to kindergarten, elementary, junior high, high school, college, and graduate school with. And when we were in college, probably so hungover too, because we partied every single night, we took this computer programming class. Oh my god. Okay, so we took this computer programming class, and it was like a real base. It was like a 100 level class. I mean, it wasn't difficult at all. Can I just show you guys these balls that they hanging down here in their trees? Is that not so pretty? Look at that. Is that not so cool? Do you see? They do that every year. I love that. So anyway, we took this computer programming class, and we were so confused. You know, it was like that HTML stuff where you had to like type in stuff and then it would make something else happen. We were so confused. And I remember this one day, you had to like program like each line. You know, it was like 5 lines for one little thing. And one of the things that we learned to do in there, it was just like, I don't even remember. Okay, one of the things that we learned to do was we would, the word falling, you could make fall, like the letters fall. We were like, oh my god, we were like basically geniuses at this point, right? So we had to do this group project. We were like, you know, you're in pairs with people. And so of course we worked together. Why wouldn't we? Were best Judies, you know? So we come up with this program and we're so excited. I mean, we had talked to our friends about this and everything. We were so proud of ourselves. We had done this thing that was like a caterpillar, which was basically just a lot of like circles, but it looked like a caterpillar moving across the screen, and I think it said something like hello or a caterpillar or something. I don't even remember now. But anyway, and it was moving across the screen like this. We were so proud of ourselves, right? So we like show ours, and everybody's like, did we show ours first or did we show ours last? I think we showed ours first because we were really excited about it. I can't remember, but I'm almost positive we showed ours first. And so everybody was just kind of like, and we were like so proud of ourselves. And these other people had legit put together like, oh my God, they had done like entire video games. They're like playing Space Invaders. Oh my God, and she and I had this caterpillar move across the screen and all it did was say hello or something like that. Oh my God, it changed colors. We were so humiliated. Oh my God, we were so embarrassed. And the teacher was so nice. I think he knew we were the two dumbest people on the face of the earth practically. Oh my God, he felt so bad for us. You could totally tell. I think he ended up giving us like a B in the class just because like he didn't want us to ever pursue compete. He did say something to us like on our final grade. It was like, he wrote on like our project or something. He was like, nice try. It was something like, nice try, obvious that computer skills might not be your forte or something like that. It was something like that. I was like, okay. Guess we're not going into computer technology anytime soon, you know? Which is so funny because my stepmother, who has many degrees, her first degree was in computer technology and she knew everything to do with computers. I think maybe I should have asked her for a little help on that project. Don't worry about it. We got it all figured out. We got a caterpillar. We were so proud of that. Oh my God, that was so embarrassing. That was so embarrassing. Oh God. The other embarrassing... Oh my God, the other embarrassing thing in college, well, I mean, there were lots of embarrassing things, was I was in a speech class with another friend of mine. Okay, now, if this is not college, I don't know what is, but she had a crush on this guy named Abe, who I thought was absolutely so cute, too. This is like 30 years ago, you guys. Anyway... It'd be so funny because he was like older than us by like 5 years, so he's got to be like in his mid-50s now, you know. So she had a crush on him and he was so cute, and so I was like, ooh, I'll take the class with you too, because we kind of like couldn't tell if he was like gay or straight or something like that. So I was like, I'm gonna take the class with you too. So we signed up for the class and we did a speech class. If you've ever taken a speech class like in college or high school or anything, it's always like you do like the improv speech, then you do, there's all these different speeches, right? And I remember, and he was like front and center. He was real studious. And I can remember he was like front and center of the class. And it was the speech. I don't remember what the speech is called, but it's where you teach people something. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? The instructional speech, I think is what it's called. And so we were sitting around one night drinking, of course, because that's when your best ideas come up, right? And she was like, I don't know what to do my instructional speech on. And I was like, I don't know what to do either. And I'm like, well, we should do like what we know best. Okay, so we used to joke about how we would do car dancing. Like we would turn on the music and we would come up with these car dances and stuff like that. So she's like, well, I'm gonna do, what if I did my instructional speech on car dancing? And I'm like, oh my God, that's fantastic. Nobody would ever do that. And she's like, but how would I make it look like that? And I'm like, well, I'm like, we'll get a box, okay? And we'll put like headlights on it and stuff and make it look like a car. And then you can be like at the front of the room inside this box that you'll have like this windshield cut out of, right? And you'll play music and show like how you come up with like a car dance, okay? And I was like, but I don't know what to do. And she's like, well, why don't you make Bloody Marys in class? And I was like, because everybody used to say I can make the best Bloody Mary ever. And I was like, oh my God, that's such a good idea, okay? So let me just tell you that, so we're sitting there in class, okay? She about got booed out. I mean, she is up there dancing in this box that's bumping her head and going everywhere, and she looked a fool. Okay, it was the most embarrassing thing in the entire world. Then Peter gets up there and does, I'm gonna make a Bloody Mary for you. And the look on the teacher is like, is this for real? Because I really did have, I mean, I didn't even think about it, vodka in a college class. And before I started pouring the vodka in, the professor comes up to me and says, I don't think that's a good idea. Okay, I'm gonna give you extra time to work on your speech and come up with something else. And I'm like, I still am not getting it why making a Bloody Mary in the class for everybody to try is not a good idea. I'm not really understanding this at this point, okay? And there's my friend in the corner with her box, and she's depressed because it didn't go off the way that she wanted to. And instead of looking like a supermodel inside of this box, dancing to some hot song for the guy of her dreams, she ends up looking like an absolute fool, okay? So, I mean, because what we thought would look like a car really just looked like a refrigerator box. And she's sitting in there, and the box is, I mean, it was embarrassing, you guys. We were just such fools. I mean, I look back on some of that, and I think, I can't even believe But I graduated from college, but I did, because I came back after I got sober, and I busted my butt. I worked real hard. Oh my God. God, that was so embarrassing. Those were really only the 2 bad classes that were embarrassing like that. I took a death and dying class. It was actually really, really interesting for because they talked a lot about like the process of funerals, and do you know, like, that's where they came up with the word the living room? Did you know that? Was when somebody would die, and then they would show the body in the house, and the room that they would have the body in was the other room where the people would stand and stay was called the living room. And it was really interesting. They would talk about all that kind of stuff. Now, if my professor lied to me about that, and that's not true, but that is the one fact that I remember from that class. But I learned a lot of interesting classes in there. I was telling Alex about this the other day. We were talking about like standardized tests, and when I thought I wanted to go to school to get my MFA, to get my Master's in Fine Arts and Creative Writing, and I thought I wanted to be a college professor. So to do that, I had to take the GRE, which is like the test to get into graduate school, graduate requirement exam, I think is what it's called. And then you also have to do a subject exam. So like if you're gonna go into psychology, you do a psychology one. For like English, you do an English one. And so a lot of these MFA programs required a GRE and a subject exam. So I thought, well, I'll do this, I'll go in there and I'll take this test and whatever. And I went with that same friend of mine that I had gone to school, kindergarten, elementary, junior high, high school, college, and graduate school. And she was doing the psychology one, and I was doing, well, we had to both take the first part of it. It's like literally like an entire day. Was I just talking about this the other day on here? I feel like maybe I was. It was February. It was out at some high school that I didn't know how to get to. You know what is so weird that I do remember about that day, though, is that I got done like an hour before her, because at the end of it, I was just like, I cannot do this anymore. And I got done like an hour before her, and I remember I sat in the car and I played that song. So whatever year this song came out was the year that I took my GRE. But that song, What If God Was One of Us, that song, I played that, like, I went and got a cup of coffee at this little gas station that was by the high school, and I came back to wait for her, and I just sat and listened to that song on repeat. I don't know why, I must have loved that song, but I remember that. Isn't that weird, the things you remember? And I remember asking her, I was like, what'd you think? And she was like, well, I didn't think it was that hard. I knew a lot of the psychology. And she was like, how was the English? And there were 400 questions. I think there was 400 questions. I knew one question. Literally, first of all, 98% of it was grammar and sentence structure, which I'm not great at anyway. And, I am when I'm in that moment. I am now, but I wasn't then. And I'm not great at it now, but I'm better at it now than I was then. And, I remember it was like the third to the last question, or I don't think it was the last question. I always think it's the last question, but I think it was like the third to the last question was, who is the author of The Color Purple? And I knew it was Alice Walker, and that was like the only question on the entire... there was also a question about Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, and I knew something about that too. But those were like the only two things that I knew anything about out of the 400 questions. There was literature on there, you guys, that was like from Dante's Inferno and Paradise Lost, and I was like, I did not read a lot of this. Like, we didn't read this, and I got my degree in English, and we didn't have to read a lot of that stuff, you know? We didn't read a lot of classical literature in the program that I was, but the English program that I took, we were allowed to like specialize in certain areas, and I specialized in creative writing, right? So I did have to take some literature classes, but I took well, basically, I mean, you take your intro to literature classes, like, you know, 101, 102, or whatever that class, I don't know what it was. So I did that, where you read, like, the Shirley Jackson short stories, and, you know, like, the Yellow Wallpaper, and the Margaret Atwood short story. I mean, you read all of those, like, famous short stories, right? But then the other classes that I took were, I took like a Toni Morrison study. I focused on Southern Lit. So I took like 2 semesters of Southern Lit, which I really, really liked. We read like Eudora Welty, Carson McCullers, Faulkner, what was the other? I took another class too that was on like expatriates, and we read like, because I loved that literature anyway, of like Gertrude Stein, Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald. So we read a lot of that literature and did like the historical biographies of them as well. Took a Victorian literature class. That was the class that I got kicked out of. And actually, one of the coolest stories in my life, if you haven't heard this story before, I've told it a lot on here, but so towards the end, right before I dropped out of college, which was part of the descent of this month into my hell that got me into treatment, it would have been probably at the beginning of November. I was in this Victorian literature class. And I can remember that we had to write a paper on the book Middlemarch by George Eliot. And the book is like 1,200 pages long. And I skimmed that book like nobody's business. And, I mean, this was the night before, you guys. A 1,200 page book. I skimmed the book. I think I bought the Cliff Notes. I mean, people don't really know about Cliff Notes anymore, but I think I bought the Cliff Notes and skimmed those too. But you had to be really careful, like in college, because if you used anything from a Cliff Note, you know, whatever. But I ended up writing this, like, I stayed up all night, you guys. I mean, it was literally like 8 a.m. to 8, or 8 p.m. to like 8 a.m. or something like that. I worked on this paper and then drove downtown to submit this paper by 9 o'clock in the morning. And I was walking in to this Victorian literature class, which I only ever showed up to present a paper or take a test. And I remember my professor. I remember her first and last name to this day. I remember what she looked like and everything. I actually looked her up not too long ago, and she's at a different university now, but she was highly, highly educated. Like, she had gone to a fantastic university and had her PhD from there. She was really a cool woman, and I just thought she was so nasty at that time. And I remember that she was like, she would stand outside of her door, and I think back on this, even that part, like, professors didn't really do that, you know, and she was standing outside the door, and she would welcome the students in each day. Like, who does that, right? And she would stand right outside the door and be like, hey, it's good to see you, hey, it's good to see you, you know, to each person. Because little did I know, there were these class discussions that were going on all the days that I wasn't there, but I never showed up, right? So how would I know that? Because I was too busy being hungover and waiting to get drunk again, or, you know, use and miss school and not care. So anyway, probably too worried about the next guy that I was going to have a crush on and make my boyfriend or something. So when I was walking down the hallway, it was this long hallway, you know, rooms on either side, and then her door was at the door for that room was at the very end. I can see it. It was like you walked this way and then this way, and like that hallway was like, it was sitting right there at the very end of like this hallway. It was in this old building. If you ever gone to IUPUI, it was at Kavanaugh Hall. Hold on a second. It was at Kavanaugh Hall at IUPUI. So I walk up to the classroom, and she stands in front of the door, and I'm like, excuse me, can I? And she goes, no, I don't want you in the class. And I was like, excuse me? And she goes, you never show up for my class, and when you do, people complain that you smell like alcohol, and I'm going to ask that you withdraw from this class. And I just sat there. You guys, is this still out of focus? I really cannot tell. My need for reading glasses is getting really bad, you guys. I think it's okay. And I looked at her and I said, excuse me? Like, I really had not had anybody up to that point say anything that blatantly to me about my drinking or drugging. I mean, I had had people say stuff, but not like anybody that, of any kind of like authority or, you know, anybody that mattered. And I looked at her and I was like, excuse me? And she was like, I'm asking you to withdraw from this class. And I just kind of looked at her. I don't even remember. I think I said something nasty. And she looked at me and she was like, Peter, she goes, I think you have a serious problem and I really hope that you get some help. And I was like, I can't believe I just got kicked out. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was so pissed. Oh my God, I was so mad. I probably went home and just got wasted drunk. I think I did, actually. So anyway, flash forward. Come on. Am I gonna have to stop this? Hold on. Okay, I'm back. So flash forward like 10 years. 10 or 12 years. 10 years, I think. And I am leaving work, okay? And when I would leave, I would go through the Starbucks right by where we worked. And I was driving my ex's car and his window wouldn't go down. It was broken. And so I couldn't go through the drive-thru. So I had to go inside the Starbucks. So I park my car, I go inside the Starbucks, and I'm not saying that like first world problems, I'm just saying that's why I was inside the Starbucks that time. So anyway, so I go inside the Starbucks and she's in front of me in line, but like it doesn't connect right away. And then like I hear her talk and she's asking for a pencil for this crossword puzzle. And like as soon as she starts talking, I'm like, I mean, let's just say if her name was Judy Smith, I was like, oh my God, that's Judy Smith, you know? But like in my head, I was like, that's Dr. Smith, because I knew her by her, you know, her name. And so this guy was like giving her a hard time about the pencil. And I go, man, just give her the pencil. And he like all of a sudden like jumped too. And when I said that, she turned around and she smiled at me. And I was like, I kind of got the weird feeling that she remembered me, you know? And of course I looked completely different. It was 10 years later and I was dressed nice and, you know, whatever. I just left work. So she was walking out. I think she came back up to get the pencil sharpened or something. I can't remember what happened. Something happened and she was walking back and I was walking out and we like passed each other. Like we were getting ready to pass each other and I stopped her and I said her name. I said, you know, like Dr. Smith. That's not her name. I'm making that up. But I said Dr. Smith and she said, I always get so emotional telling this story. I don't know why. But she said, Peter. And I said, how do you ever remember me? And she said, we don't forget, as teachers and professors, we don't forget people, you know? And she said, me kicking you out of that class that day was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my career. I was so worried about you. Well, I think I told her first, and I said, hey, I said, you know, first of all, I need to make amends to you. First of all, this is not how you make amends, okay? You process that amends with your sponsor, you pray on it, and then you go into it with no expectations. This is not how you make an amends, but I was on the spot, and it's a very meaningful amends to me even to this day. So I said to her, I said, I need to make amends to you. I said, you know, I have been sober in a 12-step program for 10 years. And I said, I work with other addicts and alcoholics, and I need to make amends to you for how I behaved in your class. And she just had this huge smile on her face, and she was like, that makes me so happy. She said, you know, the hardest thing for us as professors is that sometimes we never know what ends up happening to our students once they leave our class. And she said, I'm so happy that I get to find out, you know, what happened to you. And she said, I'm so, so, so proud of you. And we stood there and talked for, it wasn't long. Like, I mean, literally, it was like less than a minute. And I don't know why I always get so emotional telling this story. And I'll never forget, she like put her hand on my arm, my shoulder right here, and she said, have a good life. And I said, thanks, you too. And I've never seen her since, you know, and I just, you know, I think in retrospect, the reason why that story means so much to me is because she was one of the very first people that was ever willing to say something to me and acknowledge that. You know, I had another professor that I talked about this in a video the other day that said, you know, don't burn out in a frenzy of creativity like Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix. I remember him writing on, I could see it still. I still have that poem in my basement, you know? It's like, I think sometimes we're so worried that people will be mad at us that we don't tell them what they need to hear, when in retrospect, if it sticks, those are the things that matter in the long run. Don't be afraid to tell people what they need to hear. You know, don't be afraid to tell people that because you want the best for them, you know? If you tell your friend, I'm really worried about you, you need to get some help, and you don't want to do that because you're worried that you're going to piss your friend off and they're going to be mad at you, wouldn't you rather have a friend that's pissed off at you that's alive than a dead friend that doesn't have a chance? I'm just saying, you know, and I was quick to kick people out of my life that told me things I didn't want to hear. But, you know, and I'm not saying that those things had anything to do with me getting sober. They didn't. But once I had a couple days of clarity in my mind and I was substance free, those things were in my head. You know, the seed had been planted. And I'm thankful for the people. You know, like I'm thankful for this girlfriend of mine that lived with me for a while. And I'll never forget, like, she was a nuisance to me living with me. I mean, she was a nuisance. And, she would get on the phone and have sex talk with her boyfriend every night where I had to just be in the bedroom, like, talking on the phone or, like, watching TV because she wanted to have private moments with her boyfriend. You know, she'd cook a pound of bacon and then I'd, like, go in there to have a piece of it and she'd say, oh, that's for my lunch tomorrow. You can't have any of that. She spilled a gallon of milk on my staircase on the carpet that I swear to God, it was on the day that she moved in, I think. The day that she moved in or the day that she moved out, but I don't know. But that stink was in my apartment until I moved out. Like, you couldn't get the smell of sour milk. I mean, there were so many things. She was so difficult to live with, but I'll never forget, she looked at me one day and she said, you're killing yourself. We had drank a lot too. I thought, well, she's got some gall, you know, wanting to tell me that I'm drinking myself to death. She said, you're drinking yourself to death and I don't think that you care. Which was real close to what my dad said to me later when he said, you're pissing your life away and you don't even care. But she said, I can't stay here. The only thing I can do is to not be your friend anymore. I can't stay here and continue to watch you do this to yourself. And she threatened to call my dad and tell my dad what was going on. Well, you didn't do that. You didn't do that to me. I was so pissed. I was so mad. I was like, you get right out of here right now. She's like, well, I'm leaving. I just wanted to let you know that how I feel before I move out, that I'm really worried about you. And she was very calm and she said it very nicely, you know, and I was like, get the F out of my house. You know, and years later, because it wasn't like that got me sober, but it was like years later I really thought about that and I was like, she really cared. That must not, and I told her later, I said, I want you to know how much that means to me that you said that to me, that I know how much you cared about me in retrospect. Like, we talked about it later, and we hadn't talked in probably 10 years, and I looked her up one day on Facebook, and we talked about it. You know, I said, I just want you to know how much that meant to me. So, it does make a difference what we say to people, and if we care, you know. But I'm going to go now and listen to a little bit of my audiobook. So, hopefully a lot of my audiobooks. I need to finish it. I know I'll probably start listening to it and then I'll be like, I cannot finish this tonight. It's too much. Look at this glaring light behind me. Anyway, if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing Sunday. If this is posted before the book club, please come and join us for the book club. It is at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my YouNow, which is listed below. What else? I think that's it. And I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening tonight, and I will see you tomorrow. I love you. Bye. Love ya. Oh, and for those that need to hear it, and those that want to hear it, and those that just happen to stick around, and for any of my good Judies out there, that's the fourth reason why. And a fifth reason, just because I like you. One more, I like you. I love you. That's my sixth reason. A seventh reason, because it's Christmas. One more, I love you. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Happy birthday, Lena. Bye. Love ya.